Hafiz and Tiro. We are here with Colonel Brett Cassidy with the US Air Force. Thank you so much for your time.
Happy to be here.
And so we're doing this interview in a container right next to the airport, just in case people are wondering about the setting. Thanks for making time. Of course, everyone knows of the Air Force's presence, especially in this past month. One of the largest exercises in its history is unfolding in the region, and we're at the tail end of it. And so tell us about Resolute Force Pacific and what has happened in the past few weeks.
Absolutely, yeah. So we're one of several US Air Force units that are out in the Pacific right now, part of 300 to 400 aircraft and several thousand airmen. And we've really been out here the last few weeks learning how to basically work together and then with our joint partners and allies. And the whole purpose of the exercise is really integration at scale. So think how big the Pacific is, right? Figuring out how to make sure that we can conduct command and control, long distance operations, things like that across a broad scale, really for the purpose of figuring out how to work with one another, balance one another, and then create better partnerships to get after the mission sets that are out here.
And so what role did the CNMI play? Can you tell us about the scope of the exercise in the Marianas specifically?
Yeah, so with the Pacific being as big as it is, obviously any place that we can partner to be able to reach out a little bit further so that we have impact is critical. The CNMIs as a U.S. territory is a logical place for us to kind of build some capability and create some local relationships that we have that ability to kind of fit in with the local population and then integrate with other forces to get after missions in the Pacific.
So there were about 600 airmen and women here?
Yeah, we had a few hundred out here for this particular exercise, on Saipan specifically, yeah.
And can you just describe the types of exercises to the extent that you can? What is involved? How many flights are being taken every day, out of where, and just what types of scenarios?
So getting into like the specific numbers of sorties, things like that, I won't be able to get quite to that level, but I'll tell you just broadly what we're working through is what we call Agile combat operations. And it's really about being able to move around in conjunction with other units in the Pacific and be able to support one another in the logistical challenges of distance, right? And being able to help one another and practice with one another in case we need to work through a contingency situation or something like that. And so that's if you think about a basketball team or something like that, rehearsing drills, that's really what we've been doing is like how do we move with agility around the Pacific so that we can get somewhere if we need to pretty quickly and do that in a way that supports each other mutually, both at the local level here with like the local government and then also on broader scales with other allies and partners throughout the theater.
This past week, we just commemorated 80 years since the atomic bomb attacks on Japan, on Tinian. Marianas Press was there. That was then 80 years ago. 80 years later, what role does the Northern Marianas play in the defense of the U.S.?
Well, so as a U.S. territory, like most of the U.S. territories out here, the Northern Marianas gives us an opportunity to be really postured to support both local populations, but allies and partners in deterrence and cooperation around the Pacific, right? And so I would say the value is in the ability that we have to build relationships locally with other U.S. citizens, frankly, because that's an awesome opportunity out here so that we can back each other up across these broad spaces where we all have common interests, right? Like access to the global commons and things like that.
And what is the biggest threat to the CNMI, to the U.S. in this region?
So, when we start getting into discussions of threats, I don't want to dive too far into those elements, only because a lot of the strategy and things relative to threats is kind of outside the scope of my headquarters level. I will tell you that a critical aspect of being out here and a critical component of being successful as a military and as a nation in the Pacific is the relationships we build and how we integrate together. And so, however we want to look at deterrence and whoever that might be against, it's all about the relationships and interoperability that we build.
And there's a divert airfield being built on Tinian. I'm not sure if that's part of your scope either, but
yeah,
all right.
Yeah.
Okay, and so, but can you tell us when it comes to posturing itself, what is the role of the Air Force in the Mariana Islands in Micronesia? What will the presence look like, do you think, or do you know, outside of the divert airfield?
Yeah, so when we get into like specific operations and things like that, that's kind of outside of my headquarters scope. Really, our purpose here was just one snapshot in time within this exercise to understand how we could operate from the Marianas Islands, right? It's really about coming out here and understanding locally the things that are important to the people of Saipan, right? We want to be good partners. We want to tie in well with the government here and with the airport. And so ultimately we're here to build those ties and relationships so that if we have to come out here again for an exercise or something, we know who to talk to. We know how to interact with everybody. We're a part of the team here locally and not just some outside element coming in here for a little bit of time and then disappearing. We want to be a part of your team.
All right, and on that note, actually, and this is perhaps outside of your scope as well, but the broader conversation that the community is having is, basically what's in it for us, right? Mm-hmm. What is the benefit to the community? We see service members at the airport, around Garapan enjoying the amenities. That is part of the local partnership. Yeah. Is it important for you?
Yeah, it is part of the local partnership, and it's something that the Air Force, like much of the government, we're a large entity, and so as we're figuring out how to build these local relationships, it sometimes takes some time for us to figure out what right looks like, and so this is a part of that. Getting out here, building those relationships that are critical, with the recognition that every time we come out, it's going to hopefully get a little bit better because we're going to hand off to whatever unit may come out next some information on like how, what were the best practices as we came in and worked with the airport authorities or integrated with the local population.
As I'm sure you might know, there are also some in the community who are concerned about the presence, even if in an exercise capacity. What do you say to those community members, who might not be so excited about the presence and might say, why train here? There are other places to train, or why do the training at all here in the Pacific? What would you say to community members who, are skeptical of the Air Force's intent here?
Yeah, so I would say a couple of things. One, on the broadest scales, the strength of the United States is in our cooperative relationships, right? Our alliances and our partnerships. And so, as Americans, and we're all Americans here, like that recognition that relationships is critical is something that I think everyone would want to see fostered. So that's on the broader scale. And then locally, I would just say we're your Air Force, right? Like the CNMI as a U.S. territory, like we are your Air Force, and we're a part of your team as well. And so while we may be something new when we show up, I think we're when we're out here, it's an opportunity to see what your Air Force is doing for you, kind of what capabilities we have. And then again, I go back to, if we're doing it right, we're doing it in a way where we're interacting with the local population. They can see how we can become a part of your population when we are here.
Are there future exercises that we should know of that's happening in the community? Or?
So, I would reach out to Pacific Air Force's public affairs on that. They've probably got the best insights on what future exercises are coming. We're just one piece of the cog, and they really own that view. But I will say, if we're back out this direction for any reason, like we're looking forward to the partnerships that we found here at the local level, because the last month has been a phenomenal phenomenal experience, and all my airmen have absolutely loved being a part of this population.
All right, and if I could just wrap up by asking just one quick follow-up about what did you learn about after doing the exercises in the NMI? What were some of the key takeaways, if you can share?
You know, I think probably the key takeaways that we ran across while we're out here is that, you know, again, the spaces are vast. Even here in the NMIs where the islands are fairly close, I mean, there's still a lot of distance. And it's really the local understanding and us, you know, talking to the locals here who understand this area that's made all the difference in how we've been able to operate successfully. That knowledge base, I mean, as big as the military is, we can think we know all the details of how to do things out here, but being able to integrate with everybody on the local level has been huge. And so that frankly to me is the biggest lesson.
All right, thank you so much, Colonel, for your time. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you.